Well, on a Spotlight on America segment that aired earlier this month, our national correspondent Lisa Fletcher reported on the changes the Environmental Protection Agency is making to limits set to protect public health from toxic forever chemicals in water. Now, last year, the EPA set some strict limits on some PFAS chemicals, including the most prevalent ones, PFOA and PFOS. The EPA estimated that this move would prevent 9,600 deaths and 30,000 illnesses related to PFAS exposure. And now 4 of those limits are being rescinded under the new EPA, among them PFHXS, which face one of the strictest standards. And with those so-called forever chemicals continuing to raise concerns about the safety of drinking water, our Bob Aaron says the Mid-Ohio Valley is ground zero for what's become a worldwide concern.
The wells serving the 12,000 customers of the Little Hocking Water Association have more so-called forever chemicals than any other municipal water system. About 1,300 feet across the Ohio River from the Kenmore's plant in Wood County, West Virginia, Little Hocking, as of today, believes it can treat that water. But the water operator had no treatment back in 1951 when the former DuPont plant nearby started dealing with PFAS chemicals. Its older users were exposed to chemicals linked to some cancers and other medical issues, and questions exist about the cumulative impacts of those and future releases.
There's not enough lawyers using these federal environmental laws prophylactically to prevent death and injury.
So-called forever chemicals are not just limited to the Ohio River. That said, it's still important that some 5 million people count on the Ohio River for their drinking water. Kenmore's official fighting efforts by the West Virginia Rivers Coalition for injunctive release after Kenmore's exceeded permitted forever chemical discharge limits warned immediately meeting those standards might force the plant to close, 500 workers to lose their jobs, along with other plants that do business with the Washington Works.
The first defense to all the new federal environmental laws many decades ago was what we call job blackmail. That people said all the jobs are going to disappear, everybody's going to close down if we enforce these environmental laws. Now, of course, that only didn't happen, but an entire industry grew up to help companies do better.
West Virginia's biggest water provider, West Virginia American Water, says it has extensive experience in designing and installing treatment for groundwater and surface water, including treatment for PFAS that allows us to meet all standards. Our company has already gained significant experience from complying with individual states' requirements. It says the recently announced plans by the EPA to extend the timeline for compliance would not impact American Water's PFAS compliance or capital plan. It contends the company is committed to complying with the standards in a timely manner. West Virginia American notes the size of the problem. It points out that installation of new drinking water treatments for PFAS will reduce PFAS exposure from drinking water for 35 million Americans, roughly half of the EPA's initial estimate. Not a cheap date looking across the country. More than 7,000 entry points will need capital improvement investments to install treatment of PFAS in drinking water, totaling $37 to $48 billion in the next 5 years, according to West Virginia American Water. Combined with cost of operations and maintenance, the annualized cost is estimated to be $2.7 to $3.5 billion, roughly twice the EPA's estimate. Industry seems to think it can self-monitor, but some are not so sure.
Very concerned about a company that's been in violation for 7 years, wanting 3 more years to stop violating. If that sounds absurd, it's probably because it is.
On the Ohio River in Wood County, Bob Aaron, Eyewitness News.
And there is still a case ongoing in federal court in Charleston over forever chemical discharging into the Ohio River.